What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here at Edit Media in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast.
It's hard to break old habits, isn't it?
I know it. Well, I also said Nashville because, we were in Nashville recently.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to be here in Memphis, ready to get some barbecue this afternoon.
Yeah.
And excited to talk to our guest, who's actually a big deal in Memphis.
Yeah.
You want to introduce our guest to us?
I do. Today we have a special guest, Mack Weaver, CEO of the one and only Memphis in May. Mack, welcome.
Thank you, Dakota. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Thank you both for having me here.
Glad to have you. And you want to tell us what we're sipping on?
Man, we're sipping on Tumbin Dice. Tumblin. Tumbin.
Tumbin Dice. So,
It's a small batch.
yeah, it's got a little burn to it.
Mm-hmm.
Proof wise, I'm gonna have to say we're probably at like a 97,
100.
100 proof, and I'm gonna have to give it an 8.2.
Okay.
So good small batch.
Mhm.
What'd you pay for that bottle?
That's probably $25, somewhere in there.
Okay, well, so for the price, really good.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to purchase some bourbon or any type of liquor for that matter, check out Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. Best place to get it. And Mac, before we start this, we like to always kind of just get your background, where you grew up, and then how you got into the industry that you're in today.
Okay. Well, thank you both for inviting me. Hey, sorry I can't indulge with you guys.
Yeah.
But
All good.
hey, well, I am a native Memphian. I was born and raised here. I only left to go off to college. I spent 4 years in Orangeburg, South Carolina at South Carolina State University. I grew up in North Memphis. I graduated from a high school, Northside High School. It's no longer in existence now, but the alumni for that school is very strong. And like I said, I left to go off to college. And that's when I realized that I really did love Memphis. And initially when I left, I was trying to get as far away from Memphis as I could. And once I got to South Carolina State, I realized I didn't mean to get that far, but I realized how important Memphis was to me and how nice of a place it is. So I rushed back and I haven't left since. I go on vacations and do things like that, but otherwise Memphis is my home.
Yeah. Well, and I could see that, coming from a place like Memphis that has so much history, you've got barbecue, the blues, Bill Street. Heck, y'all even got a pyramid here. It's
Crazy, man.
You get pretty much
Got everything.
with a Bass Pro in it.
Yeah.
So,
What?
it don't get much better than that. But it is an iconic city. When you think
It
about
is.
cities in the South, you think about Memphis and New Orleans,
You just walk the
Atlanta.
streets and feel it, too.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It's a city full of history and it's full of talented people.
Yep.
And so, I really missed it once I went off, but I had to leave to really appreciate what I had.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
Can understand that.
tell our listeners a little bit out. So before you became the CEO of Memphis in May, what were you doing?
Before that, in the summers, my first job ever was a bellman at a local hotel that's no longer here, but the building is still here and it's still a hotel. But I was a bellman over in the summer leading into my first year of college. So each year when I would come home in the summer, I'd work at that hotel. And so after graduating, I came home. I was then promoted to front desk clerk, and then I worked as night auditor and did really well there, and got an opportunity to work at the South Grand Hotel, the Peabody Hotel, as the night auditor. So I started working there, and that I was there 90 days before I was moved to daytime accounting. My degree is in mathematics. I have a minor in computer science.
Tyler knows nothing about any of it.
Either one of them.
So I really enjoyed math. And so working in the accounting department, I had found my niche and I became a manager in Peabody Hotel Group, and I was one of the managers that would go around the country training other managers in the accounting system. So I was pretty happy where I was.
Yeah.
And I was a young man, 28 years old, and, working in corporate America and making my way. I got a call one day out of the blue, someone who I'd worked with for years at the Peabody, asking if I would be interested in looking at a job at Memphis in May, which was, local nonprofits. I've known Memphis in May because I'm a lifetime Memphian. I know the festival and I know the events that it produced. Well, I knew that the festival was in trouble. So, me being a financial guy, talked with my wife because I was newlywed, less than a year. And she said, well, just go to the interview and see what they're talking about. And, we'll go from there. But so I made the meeting and talked with the president who just retired, and his name is Jim Holt. And we talked, and, he was telling me all about the festival and all the things the festival does. And I said, you do realize that I was born and raised here in the city and that I know what Memphis in May is and all that. He was like, well, what do you not know? I said, I don't know if the festival will be here next year. And he said, that's a very fair question. The festival at the time was $690,000 in debt. And he took the job not knowing if there would be a festival after the coming year, which was in 2000. This is in 99. Probably September or October of 99. And so I met with him and he said, Mac, if you take this job 5 months from now, we may both be looking for a new job. So it is a big risk. Well, I thought about it, prayed about it, and decided I would go ahead and take the risk because, I'm a young man. I'm 29 years old, and I got a long life ahead of me. So I went ahead, took the opportunity. We did end up turning the festival around that year. It was the 2000 festival. We actually turned the festival around and actually made a profit that year. Fast forward, I figured I would do that festival or be part of the festival for probably 3 to 5 years and then move on. And as of this January, I celebrated 20.
Wow. Congratulations. That's a successful history there.
Yes.
Well, and I think, it goes a long ways that, you're from here, you grew up here, it means something to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like it's just, you moved into the city, you know nothing about Memphis in May, but anyone that's even close to Memphis, I grew up in Baden, Mississippi, which you probably don't know where that is, but it's a small town, but it's between Jackson and Memphis. But even there, we always heard of Memphis in May growing up. I think everybody that's remotely within a driving distance knows about it.
Absolutely.
And
it's iconic.
Yes.
So such a great festival. And it is such a cool thing that you were able to come in, in 2000 and help turn the festival around, that you were part of that, that it's not just, bringing someone in every other year, as you see with a lot of different festivals and things like that.
Yes.
Well, so tell our listeners a little bit about, so obviously, what was it like going through the process of, deciding, I know you said you were young, but deciding that you may not have a job in 5 months, but still deciding, hey, this is what I need to do.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
It absolutely is. But, I had done well at the Peabody Hotel, and I figured if things didn't work out, I would be able to go back or do something similar because I had worked at 2 other hotels in the city, and I've always been a part of the hospitality industry. But one thing I learned immediately with working with Memphis in May was, first, I got a chance to shed the tie, the shirt and the tie. And, I went to college on an athletic scholarship. So to show up at work in May or in April with a pair of short pants and a t-shirt on and my baseball cap, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is me. I learned real early on that Memphis and May have some of the greatest supporters. The volunteer base, I've only dealt with volunteers prior to Memphis and May through church. And, church volunteerism is maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and that's for an hour, hour and a half. And then you go on about your life, and then you pick it up, a month or two later. Well, at Memphis in May, these volunteers, they were from all walks of life. And they committed, 40, 50, 60 hours in a month time to the organization. And I couldn't fathom someone committing that much time and not being paid for it. And sometimes they would work harder than the people that we were paying. So it taught me to really care for that organization, because it really must have meant something for someone to donate that much time of their life to an organization and not get anything financially from it. It had to be something else. And so I bought into the volunteerism. And any volunteer that works for me know that no volunteer will outwork me. So I work as hard as they do, even harder, knowing that I get a paycheck every day.
Well, I think that's, just great leadership there.
Yeah, it speaks volumes.
That and also speaks to the pride of the city and the people that are here.
Even
that was the other major thing was we went back to all of the people that we owed that $690,000. There were only 2 organizations that wouldn't forgive or work with us. Those 2 organizations are no longer in existence. I think one left the city that same year. The other one went out of business two years later. But the city came together to hold Memphis in May together and bring it back and make it stronger.
That's such a great thing.
I love that. What a thing to bring people together too.
Absolutely.
That common cause that's so rich in history, so rich in tradition. Yes. To bring everybody together, man. Yeah. That's all. Yeah.
Well, what would you tell a young person that's looking, maybe they're in college, finishing up college, or maybe they're in a career and they're not happy with it, but they're saying, hey, I want to get into the nonprofit space. What advice would you give them?
If they're young, to go for it. I would tell them to go ahead and follow your dreams. I've watched so many people, and like I said, volunteerism, people come from all walks of life. You never know who you're working or volunteering with side by side and working with. A lot of these people were business owners or just someone that or had connections within the business community. You never know. You could be working next to the CEO of FedEx or the CEO or a owner of a restaurant that is looking for someone that just wants to volunteer and relieve the stress. I call it sometimes mindless work. I love being out in my yard, cutting grass, because I know it's hard work and nobody's going to come out because they're going to be afraid I'm going to ask them to help me. So I cut my grass in peace, work in my yard in peace. And those CEOs or those people in charge, they come out, volunteer for Memphis in May, and it leaves you satisfied knowing that you've helped an organization and all you asked for in return was them to say thank you.
Well, tell our listeners a little bit, for the ones that are not from Memphis and don't know exactly what Memphis in May is. What all events do y'all have?
Okay, well, Memphis in May is a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. We started in 1977, was the first year of the festival, and we honored Japan. The festival was started by a civic-minded group of people that wanted to bring the citizens of Memphis together. It was a rough time back then, but wanted to bring everyone together, and then they produced a festival. Or they wanted to showcase all that Memphis had to offer to the world and then bring the world to Memphis. So back then, they started the music festival, which was the Beale Street Music Festival. Then it was the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest that was added a year later. And then it was the Sunset Symphony. Since then, we've paused the music festival for the last 2 years, and we still have the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. Now we have, in place of the Sunset Symphony, we have the Great American River Run, and that's a half marathon along with a 10K and a 5K. And those two events are signature events for this year, and they're unmatched by any other organization here in the city or in the world.
Well, tell our listeners a little bit about, the barbecue cooking that you have. What does that look like?
Well, the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest.
Do you get to taste test all of them?
No. Excuse me. All right. Well, the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, that's where the world or the country's greatest pitmasters come together and compete for the title of world champion.
What a time.
Yes. Last year we had over 130 teams that came out and competed for that title. And this year we have even more that are coming. And we have a new home, which is Liberty Park, where we'll host the teams. They'll compete. And we've also added some things for this year that are new because we realized maybe 2-3 years back that we're not getting younger. And if we as a staff aren't getting younger, then our teams aren't getting younger either. So we've added a juniors competition this year.
Wow.
And so we have junior pitmasters coming in between,
that's cool.
between the ages of 9 and 17. And
Wow.
we've limited to 25 teams for right now. But these junior pitmasters, they can come out and compete for a prize purse of over $15,000.
Wow. That's life-changing money, especially for somebody under 17 years old.
Yes, yes. And they also get a miniature version of our coveted trophy.
Oh, that's cool.
That world championship trophy. And this is the first year, so I know the juniors are really excited.
What an experience.
Now, with the barbecue contests, are they actually competing? Are they saying, hey, we're making Memphis barbecue? Or are they making whatever barbecue they want to make, and it's judged on that way?
No, it's Memphis barbecue.
Okay.
Memphis is known for pork barbecue.
Yeah.
So it is the largest pork contest in the country. There are other contests that go on around the world, but ours is pork, and pork is the main meat. Now we have ancillary categories, and speaking of ancillaries, this year we've added the steak competition. We partnered with the Steak Cook-Off Association, and so we're going to allow the teams that participate, their pit masters, to compete in a steak cook-off contest.
Well, very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would love to be the taste tester on that.
Well, hey, I can work it out for you.
That would be great. That would be great. Well, tell us a little bit about the economic impact that Memphis in May has on Memphis. What does that look like?
It is enormous. And I'll talk back before the pandemic. Just 2019 was our last when everything was going well. 2019, our economic impact to the city or to the state of Tennessee was over $149 million.
Wow.
To the city, the tax dollars to the city alone was $4.6 million.
Wow.
We had over 170,000 visitors the first weekend of May for the music festival. And then we had over 64,000 people come back the third weekend for the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. Now, fast forward to now after the pandemic, and, we're finding our way. But we haven't had an economic impact study done since 2019.
Since that time, I think a lot of people in every industry across the board have seen the impact that COVID caused on people. And it makes people second guess a little bit. It's still giving the people that opportunity to get together, to gather, to celebrate their own city, to celebrate each other and to lift each other up too. I was thinking earlier when you were talking about all the CEOs and stuff that volunteer their time, and I was like, you just never know the life change that's going to happen at that point too.
Absolutely.
That one festival could have given one person a little bit more hope in their city that they wanted to stick around, and that one person could be a neurosurgeon. You know what I mean? And now you've got a top neurosurgeon in the country working in your city, like for Memphis. So you just never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And there's stories after stories of people getting married or couples meeting or people meeting, coming here and converging, during our events from all over the world. And this was their meeting place annually.
That's awesome.
We have weddings that go on during barbecue. We've even had weddings go on during the music festival.
Wow.
So it's a strange venue for a wedding, but it's memorable.
Yeah, to each their own.
Well, tell our listeners a little bit about what is it like leading a nonprofit organization and casting that vision to everybody, especially, you're not casting the vision to just people that are employed there, like you said, volunteers as well. What is it like to be able to cast that to people and to actually it all come together, and then you have the festival and have the results that you've had?
Well, there are two sides. There's the public side, which, for me, I've always been the man behind the scenes. I've always been the person to get the work done. And the former CEO, he and I had a great working relationship. He was the face of the organization. I made sure everything ran. Now that I've switched shoes with him, I've never really been a people person, so to speak. but I'm learning to do interviews. Learning to speak and be the spokesman for the organization. What I have different from most is that I have a passion for this. I realized that once he retired and the board asked if I would be interested in leading the organization, I've spent 25 years at that time of my life with the organization, and I didn't want to leave it to someone that didn't know or have the passion for what it is we've done or do to take the reins and put it.
Well, I think it's a good time for a bourbon break.
Yeah,
Dakota,
for sure.
You can give us your thoughts.
I thought it was super smooth for 100 proof, like really smooth, like weird. Tumbin Dice, small batch. I'm gonna give it. You were at 8.2. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
I'm gonna be in that same ballpark at 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
Well, back to the podcast.
So tell us real quick, what is next for Memphis and May?
What's next is we have found our footing. We had to get ourselves financially stable.
Sure.
We had to make some changes after COVID, and then with some changes with our venue and issues, we had to get ourselves together. We've gotten ourselves together now, and that we're working to make our organization better. What's next is we'll continue to do the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, and then the Great American River Run, which, is in it. It's celebrating its 10th year this year. It has quickly become the new Memorial Day favorite. Awesome. With the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon. And we're also working on bringing back the music.
Wow.
We've paused it. We didn't cancel. Most people say, well, Memphis and May or the Music Fest is canceled this year and that year. It's not canceled. It's paused.
Good differentiator.
And great to know that. And tell our listeners a little bit about, putting on a large scale event like that. What challenges does the organization face?
Well, in no particular order, there's safety, there's a proper venue, and I would say affordability. Financing or cost. When you think of the cost, it's really difficult to put on a festival, a local festival, national festival, and make it cost efficient for the locals when the artist costs are so large, and then the infrastructure costs, and then you have to think about your patrons' safety, not just them personally, but their personal belongings. No one wants to go to an event and worry that, something's going to happen to their vehicle or something's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
So you have to have a safe venue, and then you have to have a venue that's large enough to host your event. Theoretically, you want the event to be larger than you actually need so that you can get more people in and you can keep your costs down. But when the event space becomes small, then have to limit the number of people in there. With limiting the number of people, you also have to increase the cost.
Yeah, makes sense. And, a lot of times, I guess as people that attend events like that, you don't think about those things. You think, oh, okay, well, everybody just showed up out here and we have this nice event. But there's so many things, like you talk about, finding the location and then the volunteers that help get it going.
Absolutely.
And then, actually getting people to it and out to the public. Hey, this is what we're doing.
Dealing with the weather. You never know what the weather's going to do.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I play football. And so the only time that a game was canceled was because of lightning.
Yep. Yeah.
So with the festival industry, the only time we cancel is because of lightning.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Or a real natural disaster. Yeah. Otherwise, the show goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to all our listeners that are tuning in and listening to this, if they're wanting to know more about Memphis in May or what all y'all have coming up, what is the best way for them to get that information?
You can go to our website at www.memphisinmay.org. And it's all there for you. We can plan your entire May for you if you like.
Awesome.
Well, we'll have to get on there and do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Been a great episode. And to our listeners, however you stream this podcast, if you'd give us a rating and you'd follow us on social media, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Will.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.